Hey, Jonathan and Tony, glad to see you this evening, and thank you for spending 15 minutes with me. I hope your first year marriage is going well, and again, just want to say thank you for honoring me and letting me do your wedding. It was a blessing indeed. Loved meeting your family, and I hope everybody's doing well. And I just want to take a minute here to share with you exciting opportunity we have with Standing Stone Ministry and next season of my life. And before I do that, I just want to set the backstory to how we got here, and it'll tie all together. So, back in 2012, my family, we were going to a small little country church, and my wife was leading women's ministry, and as you met her, so that's what she does. I was teaching Sunday school, and we were just doing the American thing. And we had a chance to go on a missions trip to Argentina and do some work there, construction, community outreach. I was going to be able to, preach in some churches, and was really excited for that time. Well, made the trip. It was me, my wife, my youngest son Colton. He was 19 at the time, and a handful of other people. And the trip did not start as I had planned. I was given a translator and was instructed to go door to door, and try and share the love of Jesus Christ with everybody, and got told no, thank you, more than an encyclopedia salesman. I was just really disgruntled and sour those first few days. And my wife called me out and said, "Hey, you gotta change, dude, because you're in bad news." And so when she said that, God spoke to me that morning and said, you got to tighten up, son. So I, broke down, cried a little bit, apologized to my team. They were gracious to, forgive me. And the last half of the trip was awesome. Got to, preach in some churches through a translator. And I tell people the translator must be a better preacher than me, because they were great. They were great services. And did some community outreach. It was a lot of fun. But it boiled down to the last night. I was supposed to go to a house church and teach, and I thought it was going to be just like the other nights, but this night was different. It was come meet the American night. This was you go to a foreign land and you're famous, even though you're not famous. So it's sort of like Christmas. You go to see Santa Claus. They sat me in a chair and put a chair across from me and just paraded people throughout the night. We got to talk one-on-one with these different people. And I met some nice people, super sweet people. But the last person I met that night, her name was Marta. She was older than I was, but she had a hard life. She was a very, very bitter woman, very hard woman. And we just made a connection. I don't know how that happened, but basically I shared the promise. I shared really the point. God sent me 3,000 miles to Argentina to share the message that He loves her and He wants a relationship with her. And so she gave her life to the Lord that night. It was a great night. And back in the room, God came to me. He said, "Vernon, I'm going to use you as a people helper." I said, "What in the world is a people helper?" I had no clue. And I, shared that with my wife, Deb, and she said, that's pretty much what you're doing on the boat. Because at that time, guys were coming to me with the craziest things and asking for help, and I was giving it to them as best I could. So got back home, shared the story with my pastor. He gave me some affirmation there. And so I, told God, I said, "Look, if I'm going to be a people helper, I got to be equipped." So I went back to school in 2012 and enrolled in Liberty University, graduated in 2015 with a bachelor's in psychology and coaching, and soon found out that was the least valuable piece of paper you can get from a university in America. So instead of quitting, I doubled down and enrolled in a master's program in pastoral counseling and coaching, and graduated with honors in 2017. In 2018, launched a nonprofit called 3 Strand Incorporated that uses coaching, counseling, and chaplaincy strategies to help organizations and people become the best versions of themselves. And that's how I could marry you guys, because as a chaplain, I'm an ordained pastor. So that's just one of the facets. But I've been working in that, under that plan since. But a couple years ago, about 18 months ago, came across an ad on Facebook, and it said, have you been called to pastor pastors? Can you shepherd a shepherd? And last time I checked, pastors were people. I'm a people helper, and I have a very very high D, type A personality, and I believe I can do that. So, prayed about it, researched it, and come to find out what Standing Stone was all about, and applied. Went through a pretty rigorous vetting process, and went to a training in October, and was asked to join the team in November. And so in January, Deb and I jumped in to try and generate a support team for this ministry. So before I share the history of Standing Stone and what we're going to do, let me just share some just hard data with you, some bare facts. Sadly, 70% of pastors in America, and the majority of the wives, will say they don't have one confidential friend, somebody they can confide in, share their secrets with, can go to when they need help. Nobody wants to be the pastor's buddy, because they're, they feel like they'll be, under a microscope. So they're superficial relationships. And so they don't have a friend. When they come out of school, the majority of pastors don't feel qualified to do the administrative stuff of running a church. Sadly, 50% of pastoral marriages will end in divorce, and that's a bad thing. So what Standing Stone does is we come alongside these pastors and support them, and to provide biblical soul care with them. We're their friend, be their friend. And this was birthed out of a tragic incident 20 years ago out in California. Jim and Debbie Hogan, the founders of Standing Stone, were going to church, and their pastor had a moral failure. He had an affair with a church secretary, destroyed the church. But Jim was on the board of that church and loved his pastor. He was his pastor for 30 years, and he wanted to see his marriage reconciled. So what they did, they sold their house in California and bought a ranch in Colorado and called it Standing Stone Ranch, with the sole intent of bringing pastors in distress and their spouse out for a 1-week intensive, just trying to heal them as best they could, get the wheels back on the cart, get it back on the path, and so they can go ahead. Well, they were successful in doing that, and Jim and Debbie helped that pastor reconcile with his wife, and that was a great thing. But they soon realized they were so overwhelmed because there was such a great need. Well, it turns out they had some friends who had like means and had some vacation properties, and they started having these multiple retreats. Again, very successful, but then found out they just weren't meeting the needs. So 15 years ago, they decided to start Standing Stone Ministry, where they take like-minded people and call them field shepherds, which is what I am, with the sole intent of coming alongside pastors and trying to get them before they go down that path, try to help them before they burn out, try and help them before they go through divorce. And so that's what we do. And I feel like I've been called to do this because this was my story in the early 2000s. I left boats in 2000 to go work with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It's a parachurch organization working with high school kids and college kids, and started off great, but got thrust into a leadership position that I wasn't ready for. And 2004, 2005 were the darkest times in my marriage, and I had to make a choice to either leave ministry or lose my wife. And I chose to leave ministry so I could save my marriage. Best decision I ever made. But I think back and I think, what if somebody could have came alongside a young 30-something Vern and led him, the right way? Things might have been entirely different. But then again, I wouldn't have met you guys. So God had a plan for me way back then. So what Deb and I have done, we're using 2023 to generate a support team. And a partner with us will, one, pray with us, and we'll pray for you. We'll pray for people we might know that need ministry, that need help, and it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody local to me. I can travel. Another aspect is a networking piece. You know people I don't know. The people you know might know a pastor that needs help. The people you know might know somebody who feels led to help support in the next role here, and that's the financial support. You see, the thing that Standing Stone does is they supply all these services absolutely free. You know, pastors don't have the means for professional health care, for mental health care. They don't have means for coaching, for counseling. And usually when people find out the pastor's seeing somebody, they get kind of antsy and start talking. And so it's very clandestine, free, we're just a friend. And so what we're trying to find are people who will come alongside us, be a teammate, and help us with a recurring monthly gift of whatever it is. If you feel led to support us at $100 a month, $50 a month, $500 a month, I don't know, all that money you make at the refinery, and looking for a tax write-off. Standing Stone is 100% tax. You can write it off on your taxes. They're registered with the IRS. So that's it in a nutshell. So I'm going to upload this to YouTube, send it to you, the link. I'm also going to send you via text message a couple PDFs that are just data, statistics, and a little something you print out and hang on your refrigerator and think about Deb and I, and just have our face, our beautiful faces in front of you, and then a couple of links. I'll give you a link for the National Standing Stone website so you can research it, do your homework, and then another link that will go right to my page. Should you choose to support us financially, it takes you to the page where you fill in the blanks. You can do a recurring gift off your credit card or off your bank, either way. So that's it. I'm excited for what's going to happen. It's our plan to leave Vane Brothers again. I did it earlier in 2000, and leave again and not come back this time. But Jonathan and Toni, thank you again for your time. Hope maybe we can get together sometime, hang out with your parents. Toni, your parents, they're so cool. And we could do a trip to the beach or something. So anyway, God bless you guys. Have a great St. Patrick's Day, and don't get in too much trouble. And I'll be touching base with you in a couple days. All right, guys. God bless. Bye-bye.